For years, the global public has watched the rift between the British royal family unfold across front-page headlines, tell-all memoirs, and televised interviews. While recent reports have indicated that Prince Harry has made repeated, quiet attempts to extend an olive branch and seek a pathway toward reconciliation, senior palace sources have confirmed a definitive reality. Prince William has firmly drawn a line in the sand. Rather than opening the door to renewed dialogue, the Prince of Wales has chosen to maintain strict, unyielding boundaries, leaving personal peace efforts decisively rejected. This documentary-style investigation explores the timeline of these recent overtures, the ironclad conditions demanded by the future king, and what this enduring deadlock reveals about the future of the modern British monarchy. As public fascination collides with strict institutional preservation, the chasm between the two brothers appears deeper and more permanent than ever before. To understand the gravity of Prince William's recent rejection, one must examine the historical architecture of a relationship that was once viewed as unbreakable. For generations, Prince William and Prince Harry were presented to the world as the public face of a modernized, resilient British monarchy. Sharing patronages, living quarters at Kensington Palace, and weathering intense public scrutiny side by side, their bond was heavily leaned upon by the institution to project continuity and fraternal solidarity. However, this dynamic shifted fundamentally following the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's decision to step down as senior working royals and relocate to North America. Subsequent public revelations, including high-profile television specials and Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, introduced detailed grievances regarding internal palace dynamics, creating deep-seated friction that resonated across the institution. Factual reports from royal commentators and palace insiders note that while King Charles has occasionally engaged in brief, controlled meetings during family visits, Prince William's stance has remained entirely distinct. For the Prince of Wales, the public airing of private family matters inflicted lasting strain on both the institution and his immediate family, establishing a precedent where forgiveness requires formal accountability. As the structural demands of preparing for a future reign take precedence, William has consistently prioritized the stability of his own household over managing ongoing external family conflicts. The psychological impact of these disclosures created an environment of defensive posture within the prince's inner circle, transforming a once-close sibling bond into an institutional divide governed by protocol rather than personal sentiment. The emotional toll on the wider family has been substantial, forcing courtiers and senior royals to navigate an unprecedented landscape where personal grievances are aired on a global stage. This historical backdrop sets the stage for understanding why casual outreach efforts face such insurmountable resistance. But what specific olive branches were recently extended during high-profile UK visits, and why did informal outreach efforts fail to bridge the gap? Over recent months, reports surfaced detailing how representatives and intermediaries attempted to facilitate dialogue, culminating in brief, controlled family interactions during brief UK visits. Yet, behind the scenes of these carefully managed itineraries, logistical friction, particularly concerning security protocols, accommodation arrangements, and public relations framing, created an atmosphere of intense media speculation. While discussions involving the wider family circle occurred, Prince William remained conspicuously absent from these engagements, refusing to participate in informal sit-downs without prior structural conditions. Palace insiders have revealed that any potential reconciliation path envisioned by the Sussex camp would face rigorous, non-negotiable boundaries set by the future king. Rather than accepting casual gestures or verbal overtures, reports indicate that William expects strict adherence to institutional protocols and accountability for past public criticisms. This divergence in expectations exposed the stark reality of their relationship. While one side sought an open door for reintegration, the other maintained that the era of unconditioned access had permanently closed. Psychologically, this dynamic highlights a profound clash in conflict resolution styles. One party favors public appeals and emotional outreach, while the other demands privacy, adherence to protocol, and institutional loyalty as absolute prerequisites for trust. The logistical hurdles of arranging these meetings were compounded by a mutual lack of administrative alignment, as independent teams operated with competing objectives and narrative goals. Furthermore, the timing of these overtures often coincided with delicate periods for the royal family, amplifying the tension and ensuring that private gestures were immediately scrutinized through the lens of public relations. As the gap between their respective expectations widened, it became increasingly evident that casual diplomacy would not suffice to mend a fracture born of fundamental disagreements over duty, privacy, and institutional loyalty. The refusal to engage without strict prerequisites signaled a new era in royal family dynamics. How did the palace respond to these overtures behind closed doors, and what specific preconditions were drafted to govern any future family interaction? As public pressure mounted for the brothers to find common ground, sources close to the Prince of Wales clarified that any future reconciliation would occur strictly on William's terms. Reports detail that these conditions include rigorous frameworks regarding public commentary, clear boundaries on the commercial use of royal associations, and an insistence on safeguarding the privacy of working royals. For William, protecting the long-term credibility and stability of the monarchy supersedes personal sentiment, particularly as the institution navigates transition phases and health challenges among senior members. Commentators note that the prince's firm refusal to engage without a formal binding framework reflects a calculated protective strategy designed to shield his wife, Catherine, and their children from ongoing public turbulence. Consequently, rumors of impending public apologies or swift reintegration plans failed to materialize into actionable meetings, underscoring a permanent shift in how the royal household handles internal dissent. The door to standard fraternal communication remains firmly shut, anchored by a strategy that values institutional preservation above all else. From a psychological standpoint, William's rigid stance illustrates a defensive adaptation to chronic public exposure and perceived betrayals of trust. When personal sanctuary is compromised, boundaries often become absolute. Within the machinery of the crown, this translates to an uncompromising insistence on operational discipline. The fallout from these failed meetings extended beyond the immediate family, prompting debates among constitutional experts regarding how a modern monarchy handles internal schisms while maintaining public authority. By refusing to soften his stance, William demonstrated that the personal feelings of individual family members must yield to the overarching survival and dignity of the institution. This calculated detachment serves as a clear message to all stakeholders that the monarchy's stability is non-negotiable. What does this permanent impasse signify for the future trajectory of the British monarchy? And can an institutional rift of this magnitude ever truly be mended? Fact-based analysis of the situation demonstrates that the division between Prince William and Prince Harry is no longer merely a personal family dispute, but a defining structural boundary within the contemporary royal institution. By establishing clear, unyielding parameters for conduct, public commentary, and institutional loyalty, William has set a definitive precedent for his anticipated reign. The rejection of recent personal peace attempts highlights a broader transition toward a leaner, tightly controlled monarchy that prioritizes operational stability and public trust over nostalgic reconciliation. While public fascination with the royal brothers remains high, the factual reality indicates that both parties have settled into distinct, parallel trajectories with minimal intersection. The events surrounding these failed overtures serve as a case study in modern royal crisis management, illustrating how institutional self-preservation can ultimately override personal family ties in the public eye. Psychologically, this resolution marks a painful yet definitive acceptance of a new reality, one where the idealized bonds of the past are permanently overshadowed by the stark operational demands of the present. The legacy of this estrangement will likely influence how future generations of royals manage public conflict, media engagement, and personal boundaries. As the institution presses forward into a new era, the immutable wall between the future king and his brother stands as a testament to the high cost of division at the highest levels of public life. The narrative concludes not with a hopeful reunion, but with a sober reflection on the price of duty in an age of constant scrutiny. Now that you've explored the facts surrounding Prince William and Prince Harry's ongoing dynamic, how do you think this strict boundary will impact the future perception of the British monarchy?